Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you know anything about Oldsmobiles, the name Mondello has a lot of historical significance. I'm going to show you this very special car. We're going to talk about the history of it and talk to the new owners. Okay, so let's go. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, who's Joe Mondello? Because without Joe Mondello's name being explained, if you don't know who he is, this all means nothing.
Joe was known for being a cylinder head porter and did a lot of engine development, and then branched into doing Oldsmobile things specifically. He had a car before this one, 1969. It was the original VO Twister, and this car is the Twister 2.
And was that a reference to his favorite drink or something like that, is what I heard?
Yes, there are different interpretations as to what that means, so we'll let people figure that out.
Okay.
Do your homework.
And Joe Mondello, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't he famous in the 1960s and like even the top fuel circuit for cylinder head porting?
If you were a top runner, 50s, 60s for sure, you had his heads on your car.
Drag racing.
Right. He also supposedly did the GT40 heads for the Ford program.
No kidding. Oh, wow. I didn't
So
know
you might want to look that part up, but yeah, he supposedly had a big piece of that.
that. Okay. And who are you guys, and why is this car sitting here in a, over with the cows?
With our cows?
My first exposure to the car was around the late 80s when he sponsored an Oldsmobile race in Norwalk, Ohio. I remember seeing it there, and later on when it was painted a purple color, I also saw it run in that livery.
Dave, this is now your car, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, yes.
We need to be delicate about that. Okay. Well,
Joe
anyway,
Mondello?
Yeah.
I think Joe Mondello passed in 2011. I heard something.
11 or 12, that sounds right.
I remember
If
speaking
only
to him
we had a way
about...
to find this on a handheld device. Guys. I see two starting. Who's going to win?
After Joe and Mary moved to Tennessee, they set up a shop there, Joe Mondello Racing Engines. During the time it was there, it was sent to a body shop to go back to this paint scheme. And while that was happening, Joe passed.
Oh, really?
Yes. The car was not finished, and it was incomplete. And through some friends that are close personal friends of Joe and Mary, I became involved in helping Mary get the building ready to be sold, cleaning up the building, getting equipment ready, and I expressed an interest in the car because I'm very much interested in preserving the history of the car.
Right.
That is the overarching purpose of this whole thing, was to make sure that this car and its historical value is preserved.
And I remember late 80s, late 90s, early 2000s, seeing this car, and it was like the highlight of the show. And this is before you had aluminum heads and all that kind of stuff on these engines, where he was porting the old iron heads, stuff like that. So
there's an old magazine article from Buick Olds Pontiac magazine that mentions him buying this car new and then selling the drivetrain back to the dealership because he was in the business of selling parts and engines, and this was his test bed. So anything that they developed, they would try on the car, or most things anyway. And it had a bunch of different engines over the years, different combinations, and was even, I believe, a super gas car possibly.
Wow. Okay. Could you give us a walk around for those that may have no idea what it is? Could you give us a walk around and show us what is this car, and
Sure.
talk about what you guys did to it? For those that don't know, this is what exactly?
A 1972 Oldsmobile 442.
And that's what it was from the factory, right?
Yes, this was not what also was not a W30 car.
Okay, for those that don't know, W30 was an engine designation for the highest output street engine you could get at that time from the factory.
Right.
You said it was not.
It was not.
Okay.
It was painted with the basic paint scheme, but without the lettering, in the early 70s, and then it was sold to the Shea family out of Pittsburgh in 1974.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the car, what was it they ran? It was a J-stock automatic car. So there are super stock tricks that are still evident on the car.
And for those that don't know, stock automatic is not stock, but they're supposed to be, you know,
stockish.
Stock, yeah, where they really push the limits, you know. But so
the Shea family had it until 1988, and that's when Joe and Mary bought the car back.
Joe and Mary Mondello.
Yes. That's when it got the rear wheel tubs done by Pro Chassis and Mike Ruth.
Okay, wheel tubs, in case anybody is curious. So you see the interior is obviously very not stock. Those are wheel tubs where you see it's a tub shaped piece of metal, so you can put really large rear tires on like this. And how big are these rear tires?
16 by 33.
16-inch wide, right?
Right.
33-inch tall. That's a massive tire. That's a massive tire. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And this is the way it was. You guys want to talk about that? Like, how did you decide how to put it back together? What kind of condition was it in?
2018. The car was in the shop, but was incomplete. It was not completely put back to this paint scheme. There were a lot of parts missing. There was no engine, no transmission. And it was basically the shell of a car with a D- paint job on it. We started in 2018, and in 18 months, we're able to get the car to this point.
Wow. It is gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, Mr. Cooper did the paint.
All right. This is Greg.
Yes.
And I've run into how many people today? I think, I don't know, at least 9 people that you've painted their cars. Right? Including my buddies Tim and Ed over there, right?
I have an unofficial run of Oldsmobiles that I have done.
Yes.
I've done quite a few.
Yes. What kind of condition, Greg? You want to talk about the condition of the car exactly, and what's, how you've painted it?
It was in decent shape. Like Dave said, it had a D- paint job on it. It was in base coat. It was in blue base coat, which was the wrong color. And when we first got the car, I wanted to make sure that it was the Twister. And
because it's a famous car if you're into drag racing,
right.
Oldsmobiles.
And so when we got it back to my shop, I wet sanded the pale blue paint off of it and found the purple underneath of it. I did the quarters.
And that's how one of the ways you knew that, or verified it was the actual
verified
real
it was the car.
And VIN number as well, maybe, or VIN numbers are no.
The VIN, all that's fine.
But I wanted to make sure, and I also wanted to see if this paint scheme was under the purple. Because we didn't have very many pictures of this car, so we were kind of flying blind.
We had slides left over from a Buick Olds Pontiac magazine article, and the slides were provided by Joe to the magazine for the article. And through a lot of research, I was able to find that they were ones that he provided, so there were rights to them. We took the slides and had them blown up onto large pieces of paper so we could scale the paint job.
Wow.
Going, okay, it's this far from here to here, the stripes are this wide. And the stripes did not match side to side in the old pictures we saw.
Really? No kidding.
Plus, the order of the stripes over the roof was changed over the years as well.
Order meaning?
Instead of red, gold, white, sometime in another shot they are gold, red, and white.
Right. Which, unless you're really looking, you wouldn't notice those things.
We didn't notice when we were painting until one day we looked at it and said, "Hey, which way do these colors go?"
Right.
And the colors were another thing. Nobody knew what colors Joe had.
What?
We never, everybody says, "Okay, it's a white, it's a gold, it's a red, it's a blue." Well, there are many variations of different colors. I pulled up off the internet a GM paint code sheet that had little color swatches, and down in the corner was white, gold, and red.
What
I
year?
said, it's 1972. And I said, Dave, this has to be it. And it's war bonnet gold, Milano red, and then white. And we took it to Mary and said, do these colors look like what the car was?
And Mary Mondello would be the only one you could speak with, because by this time Joe had passed away.
Right. And she said, yep, that's probably what Joe did. Just those 3 colors go with it.
Wow, that's amazing.
So
okay,
I'm convinced that these are the original colors.
Okay. And didn't you say there was also different iterations, different colors, schemes, different stripe patterns, right?
The stripes were the same.
Just same basic design.
Yeah, we just found the different way that the colors on the roof were painted.
Okay.
Over the years.
Okay.
The Shea family, Chris Shea, has been a huge help in getting the history of the car, getting historical information about the car, various pieces of information like time slips, receipts, because his family owned it from 74 to 88. When I saw him in Chicago in November, he brought a 3-ring binder of all the information that his family had on the car, and I actually have pictures of him sitting in it again after all these years.
Wow. Now, so you obviously had to sand the car all the way down, prepare it, you want to talk about how it's actually, the paint has been applied, because it's impressive.
Yeah.
It's impressive, but then when you talked about it, it's even more impressive.
Well, we were under a time crunch, and usually when you want to do a really nice paint job, you go down to bare metal and come up from there. We were in a time crunch. I couldn't do that. So I took it down, primed it, blocked it, got some little bits in here fixed. And in my little pole barn, I sprayed the blue, laid out the stripes. I've actually painted the stripes about 4 times because I just couldn't get them the way I wanted. And I got the colors on it I got the red, the gold, the white, the blue. And then we took it, we found through friends of ours, we found a guy in Indianapolis.
Little Bill.
And we took him the car. It was already painted, cleared, and I had sanded it all down. And he did the stripes.
Now, it took me a while to notice.
It's a
It's a
pinstripe.
light blue pinstripe.
Yep.
And I'm going to try to get it in camera, but there's no vinyl on this. I mean, it's
This is all
almost
hand
dead
done.
flat.
Yeah. He hand laid out all the lettering.
And why is this better versus having just vinyl that you could, this day and age, obviously, and see
Clear.
It's buried under the clear.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear. I don't know if you guys can tell, like I said on video, but it's dead flat. You can't feel the lettering. So when you go and wax the car, like you guys were saying, you don't get that edge of wax and peel up the lettering.
And it's hand done. These down here are hand done. Real gold leaf, 2 different styles.
Yep, it's got like that swirl pattern on the top. And I don't know what that, it looks like almost like a heat distorted pattern on the bottom. It's gorgeous. And this is the way it was.
Variegated leaf.
Variegated leaf.
Variegated leaf. And this is the way it was, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's amazing.
We went through a lot of effort to make sure we were historically accurate. And even though there was an abundance of photos of the car over the years, none of them were close enough to get us the detail that we needed.
Right. And a lot of people don't realize, pre-internet and all that, I mean, you took 35mm camera photos, they just weren't that clear.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
But we had all the pinstriping done. Then it came back to me. I put 3 more coats of clear on it, let it cure, brought it back over here, and I buffed it out in November of 2019.
So for PRI.
And we took it to PRI in December of 2019.
PRI is a show, right?
Performance Racing Industry.
So
in
it's a
Indianapolis.
racing trade show in Indianapolis, and Mary came in from Hawaii to see the car.
Wow.
And that was the first time she saw it since it was finished.
And what was her reaction?
She cried.
Oh, that's about the best reaction you can get.
Yeah.
Tears of joy, I'm sure, right? Memories. Wow. And for a lot of people, you may not know, when you're racing, if you have manufacturers' names on the car and you win in the professional classes, you can get paid, so much. So
Right.
So you didn't just pick, Pennzoil because you like Pennzoil. This is right. Some
is what it
accuracy.
had.
Yeah, some historical accuracy to it. Did you guys have to do much to the interior?
There's some reproduction parts in there. We also had Jeff Ogden from Dayton.
Full roll cage.
Yeah. Jeff Ogden did some interior panel work for us.
Okay. But this is the way he had it, right? I mean, how about that angled shifter?
Yep.
Because if you notice, that shifter is like at about a 30-degree angle. It's not straight front to back.
Right.
Very interesting.
Fusic parts are all over this car. Fusic has been extremely helpful.
It smells new, and it smells like a new car on the inside. Oh my God. I wish you guys could smell this right now. Wow. I see a... Oh, okay. Odometer. Oh my gosh. I hope that's in focus, guys. Okay, the odometer says 00135, which either means it's 100,000 like on the button, or it is...
It is 135 miles.
135 miles, that's insane.
It's not a quarter mile at a time. That's from the time that he owned it to the time he pulled the engine and put it back. It was street driven for 135 miles.
Wow.
And that's it.
That's it. And then the odometer was disconnected at that point.
The odometer was disconnected.
Okay. Wow, that's a piece of history. That is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Can you show me a little more of that stenciling like on the trunk?
Oh.
Now, it did have names on the trunk. Mary's for Mary Mondello.
Right.
Was that on there when it was running?
No, over the years,
Okay.
like many race cars, the names change, the paint job changes possibly every year. So if you're doing a very famous car and it changed quite a bit over the years, you have to pick the time frame that you want to replicate.
Right, that makes sense. Now, wait a minute. The guy, what happened there? Is there like a little bug splatter or something there?
That is Little Bill signing the car with one bristle of a paintbrush.
Look at that. And guys, just for size reference, that's the keyhole. My camera is literally 1.5 inches away. Wow. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
The license plate is the original.
It was in the car.
No way.
It's had a bunch of different license plates over the years, but
It was dented and dinged up, and that's the original paint. All I did was push out a few dents and clean it up. And the bumpers are fiberglass. They are not steel.
I was blown away. I was blown away when I didn't notice that they're not steel until you said it. Then I'm like, wait a minute, the chrome just looked a little bit. It's like 95% of the shininess of true chrome, but that's amazing.
It's real close.
Gary Kuhn from Innovative Concepts Engineering in Lima did the bumpers for the car.
Gary Kuhn, how do you spell Kuhn?
Coon.
Okay, wow, that's pretty amazing. Because you said there also was differences in the bumper, right? In some pictures it was steel, chrome, some places it was fiberglass.
In some places it was painted.
Okay.
When the car was purple, the bumpers were painted. The car originally had a wing, and then there are pictures where it didn't have a wing. There are pictures of the car with a flat hood with a snorkel scoop.
Oh, wow.
This hood.
No kidding.
Yeah, there's been quite a few iterations of this car.
I'm going to show this side of it just so nobody thinks that we're not hiding anything over here. It's just an absolutely gorgeous car, and I mean, you guys can see the reflection here. We're in the golden end of the golden hour, but
Except for the bug.
so nice.
So, like I said, when you redo a historical car, you have to pick the time period that you want to replicate.
These doors, when they shut nice, they're so great. They usually don't. You put any miles on them, they get that clunk, but it's so beautiful. Wow. And even all the stuff on the front end here is just gorgeous. The headlights.
There are quite a few reproduction parts because the car had no headlights, headlight trim, grills. There was a lot to find.
Wow.
Once again, Fusick was a huge help.
Yes, I've ordered myself some stuff from Fusick. Good stuff. Mondello tall valve covers to clear the special valve train, right?
Yeah.
Nice. And do you guys know, what are some of the times? Obviously, different iterations, different engines. Like you said, he used it as a test bed. But this car was running what kind of times? And this would have been?
When it was a J-stock automatic car, it would have been a mid-11.
Okay. And that would have been probably 70s, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was fast in the 70s.
Yes. That was when factory cars were like mid-14s for the high-performance version.
Right.
Yeah.
Over the years, it's had a number of different drivetrains, different drivers. I don't know the fastest it's ever been.
But some people I heard were saying 9s, and when it looked like this with the big tires in the back, like high 9s, I think.
Probably.
Okay, something like that. I heard other people saying 10s that they've seen it do. Okay. Wow, pretty phenomenal. Okay, pretty phenomenal.
To be able to do this car, I sold my own personal race car.
Are you serious? Which one?
The one I was running today.
Really?
I sold that car as a roller to our friend JJ. And then I was able to buy it back a couple of years later and put my own car back the way I used to have it.
Wow. Wow, sacrifice. What made you guys do this? Why?
It needed to be done. it is a historical vehicle. It needed to be preserved, and it is a fantastic car.
And Greg, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I know you didn't paint this thing for the money.
No, no, no. He called and said, "I got a car for you to do, and to bring it over." And it was cold. I painted it in the cold.
And what did you, by the way, when it came in and you saw what it was, he told you, what was your reaction when it was done?
Oh, we got to do it.
Oh,
there's no question we got to do it.
Because you guys, I mean, like I said, you guys are part of here preserving a piece of automotive history.
That has always been the goal, was to preserve the car and bring it back to shows and drag strips for people to reminisce over and remember Joe's legacy.
That's awesome.
And out of this whole thing, Mary has been tremendously wonderful to work with, and she's provided a lot of information, and we did this for her benefit as well as ours, because she had a personal connection to the car, obviously, and as part of Joe's legacy, it had to be done.
And we made sure that when we did it, we did everything the way Mary wanted it. And he made a promise that we were going to put it together, and it was going to be done. It was going to be done right. It was going to be done quickly, and we nailed it.
Nice.
And
a lot of people can make promises to do a car of this quality in a certain amount of time, but we dug in and we did it.
And I know you guys, I mean, you guys, aren't like money pouring out of your ears, funded by somebody. I mean, you're doing this out of your own pockets, and you guys got regular jobs, and right.
That's why I sold my other car, was to be able to do
that
this.
says a lot right there. I'm not sure if this is pertinent or not, but I got my first car I ever drove was in 1990. I got an 82 Camaro. That car was a piece of junk, so quickly got rid of it. Had a V6, with a 4-speed. Anyway, and then after that, though, I got an 84 Olds Cutlass. Buddies helped me build a 350 for it, and that started my love affair with the Oldsmobiles. And Oldsmobiles always were, like, the campaign that they had in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's not your father's Oldsmobile is what killed them. Because that's what we loved, was our father's Oldsmobile.
Those were great cars. Why would you not want one like that?
They were always powerful cars that were fairly easy to work on, that had some luxury. They weren't the Cadillac luxury, but they also weren't the Pontiac performance. They had that middle ground. And they've still got even though they're not making cars anymore, right? They have their own definite niche following.
What got me into the cars was Oldsmobiles was my dad and mom had a 73 Custom Cruiser, which was one of the biggest cars GM made at the time. And I remember seeing 120 on the speedometer, with 4 people in it, headed to Alabama.
How many Oldsmobiles have you owned personally, Dave? Do you even know?
I would say that would be between 30 and 40.
Greg, how about you?
About the same. About the same. And I got started because I bought a 81 Firebird from a bank repo, and we were buddies, and he said, I blew up the 301 engine, and he said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want you to build me a motor that'll do burnouts from every stop sign. And he said, I got just the thing.
Wow.
And we started out racing it, and it went from a 14 to a low 11.
And there were not any good parts in it.
No.
Low 11 second car, that's
1106.
That's what, like, brand new mid-engine Corvette beater territory.
Yeah, and we did it for like $3,000.
Oh yeah. Hey, he would call me up.
And I'm not trying to compare you guys' car to a Corvette, but just to give people in the audience some kind of gauge or reference.
He would call me up and say, I got a set of used pistons. Pull the engine out of your car and call me. And
how long have you guys known each other for?
Oh, gee.
Great.
We were a class apart in high school.
He's a year older.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly why. I stopped by his house in '89, maybe.
Yeah.
It was maybe to buy something like car related, and it's been long enough we don't really remember.
Yeah. We've had some adventures that would wow. We've been broke down before, hundreds of miles away. Call up, hey, I'm stuck, come get me.
Nice.
And we're there.
Yep, that's it. That's awesome.
I get stuck, he gets stuck. Yeah. It's one phone call.
This hobby is about cars, but more the people that you meet and the friendships you form.
Yes.
And they last forever in a lot of cases.
Absolutely. I mean, I haven't sat down and like face to face with you guys in over a decade, and now I got this car and I'm back in the loop, and you guys are like, "Hey, come, come to our house."
in.
We're sucking you back
Yeah,
in.
yeah. That's amazing. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Bye.
And this story and the effort in this wonderful car. Now it does run, right?
A little.
I mean, can we hear it?
Oh, okay.
All right.
Turn the switch on.
And this will be a nice cold start too, huh?
Yeah, it'll be a cold start.
And for those that may not know, you have to have in certain race classes for drag racing cars the on-off switch to kill the battery.
You got the throttle?
Yeah, I'll handle that.
You know when you're ready. Hang on.
Fuel pump.
Ready?